people, welcome to the Afia show. Today we are concentrating on health. We are here to discuss issue that has been left unaddressed. A health condition that is affecting young girls and young women. We are here to address such issues. We also go out on the street to ask people whether they are aware of such disease. It is a disease affecting women. Not only women, but women are the most vulnerable. We are discussing fistula. Does the name sound familiar? Are you aware of such disease? Fistula. It is the topic we are discussing. We have a dynamic young woman who is here to educate us on fistula. The prevention, the signs and symptoms, it will all be addressed, and the stigmatization about this disease. Stay with us as we discuss it in total with a professional. Thank you.
If you give me benzo, I give me long life. For me, baby.
Life, they say, it's a war. We find ourselves in situation we get so much entangled with, we intend to stay there. The Afia show is a social edutainment program. It will feature young expert people who have knowledge or excellence in their field of work. The show will also discuss issues on health, education, marriage, lifestyle, entertainment, diplomacy in a bid to inform, educate, entertain, and create awareness to the general public on matters affecting our daily lives, which is not given much importance. The show will in turn find solutions to curb such issues. Make a date with us this and every Friday at 6 p.m. on this channel, The Afia Show. We discuss matters concerning you. Thank you. Welcome to The Afia Show. Today I have with me in my studio Miss Harriet Wood, midwifery officer at Confirmatory Teaching Hospital. She also holds BSc Public Health, Diploma in Midwifery. She is here to educate us on fistula. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity to.
Okay. Today we've heard about this disease. It has been worrying women, young girls, which we have not given much attention. Much importance has not been given to such disease. We are always talking about malaria, diabetes, hypertension, but we've left this disease unaddressed. Fistula. What at all is fistula?
Thank you for the opportunity once again. Fistula is an abnormal condition that it's kind of an opening, an opening between two particular organs in the body. And the most worrying aspect of it all is that there are different types of fistulas, but there's this particular problem, obstetric fistula. It's causing a lot of problems to a lot of young women and young girls. Because when we see from the prevalence rate, about 2 million women and young girls suffer from this particular condition.
Wow.
And it's been unattended to. People are kind of scared about it. They are not even open to talk about this particular issue because there's a lot of stigma attached to this particular problem. People are so scared of it. So that is obstetric fistula.
Okay, how can one know that I have this kind of fistula?
When one is having fistula, one might have there's an ordinary time that you would want to wee.
Okay.
There's this edge. The body gives you signals from your brain that you want to wee. You have to go to the washroom and just urinate. But when one has fistula, the urine just comes like that. That is called incontinence of urine. It just comes out just like this. The urine just comes. There's also incontinence of feces. The person doesn't have control over the muscles.
Okay.
The feces just comes like that. These are the signs, the main signs and symptoms of this fistula. Because there's no control over the muscles.
Okay.
Because there's an abnormal opening between these two organs.
Okay.
There's just a big hole that is created between the organs and it cannot be controlled. And if it's not repaired surgically, there's this kind of incontinence. The person is leaking urine all the time. There's odor. It's because, let's take for instance, you are just there, then urine just pops out like that. There's this bad smell that is attached to this particular fistula. So these are the signs and symptoms attached.
Okay, then this is really serious.
It's very, very serious.
Unaware, then you wee and you poo. It's kind of embarrassing.
Very, very embarrassing.
Okay. So if a person is having such disease, what at all can the person do? Can the person really rush to the hospital, or the person can say it will go, we will be there, it will go?
One thing about this condition is that people are not aware of it. And according to a survey that was made, when we take a look at the poverty-stricken areas, most people have this condition, and since it has to be repaired surgically, they are so afraid to come to the hospital for treatment. So most people are not aware. They are even afraid to talk about this issue, because they know that when they tell a friend or a family member, "Oh, I'm leaking urine, I'm leaking feces," people would kind of attach things to them, and so they are scared to even come out.
So that means they can tag it as a spiritual disease.
At the same time, they feel that somebody has done something
like a
curse, and they are even afraid to talk about it, and they are scared that people will tag them. There's kind of a stigma attached to this particular condition, so it's very, very serious. It's very, very serious.
Okay, do we have an age factor that, like the prostate cancer, they say when you are 50, 40, you get such? This one, anybody at all can have it.
Any woman or any young girl can have it. You see, when we look at the risk factors, you see there are people who get very married. They get married early. Like there's this kind of problem with the early childhood marriages, and since the body is not too developed to handle pregnancies and all that, and one particular issue is that this fistula is brought about by prolonged labor. Somebody can go into labor, and let's take probably the person is living in a very remote area, then there's no hospital setting around, or the person is only kind of have only access to a traditional birth attendant, not a hospital. You see, since we have health centers and hospitals around, there are some very remote areas in the country that they don't have access to a midwife. They only have access to a traditional birth attendant who are trained by the health workers. And since the person doesn't have enough knowledge about this, how to even manage labor, a person can go into labor. She can go into labor about, normally the normal labor time is about 14 hours. At least you go into labor a day before, and we are hoping that the next day you might deliver. But we have a prolonged labor lasting about even 48 hours. And if the person does not rush to the hospital quickly, and the person pushes the baby out in a forceful way, there's this kind of fistula that happens, and it brings about that gap in the whole day. I remember one time I was working at the Sudresa hospital, and there's this baby, this person came into me, but the baby was very big, a very huge baby. And unfortunately, she was coming from a very remote area to Sudresa to deliver, and they didn't assess the baby well, knowing the baby's weight and the mother's weight. They just forcibly allow the woman push the baby out, and unfortunately the baby's head was stuck at the pelvis of the perineum. And we had to rush the person to the hospital. We had to try pulling the baby out. The baby was very big. Unfortunately, the baby died. And after that, the woman had fistula, because the baby was there. The labor was so prolonged, and the baby was there for a very long. It also, you can see a very big baby stuck at the woman's perineum. You can see how the whole picture is like. So it's very, very worrisome. So normally we encourage all women that at least when you get pregnant, you might not know how your labor is going to go. Labor is unpredictable. It might end up in cesarean section or anything like that. So normally we have some risk factors that are attached to it. If you know probably you've delivered a previous cesarean section 1 or 2 times, you shouldn't let a spiritual person or a pastor tell you that, oh, one can have it to me. Then you try to push the baby out, and the baby is stuck. We have women who have diabetes in pregnancy. The babies are big. They have big babies. They never big babies. Somebody tell you, a traditionalist will tell you, then you go and take in row. Some people take hairs for labor. You understand? People take hairs for labor.
Wow.
By the time they end up, the babies come out dead, the babies are stuck. And some, unfortunately, some too, since the babies are stuck and they die, they have to cut the baby's head off. Cut the baby's head off. Try to cut the baby's part to be able to drag the baby out from the body. And all these things end up in fistula. Another thing is that they go into labor, they delivered alright, but since they are not attended by a health expert or a correct or a registered, a qualified midwife. I have this little girl, she delivered, she was about 15 or 16 and she delivered.
15 years?
Yes, and she delivered.
Wow.
When she delivered, unfortunately, she had a tear. When she had a tear, the person told her that it was going to heal. And unfortunately, it didn't heal. So it brought about a fistula. When the girl realized the vagina and the rectum were all combined, by the time she realized when she's poo-pooing, the poo-poo come out through the vagina instead of the anus, because the two were joined together. It was a fistula.
Wow.
So she came to see me and we had to take her to somebody. And fortunately, it has been repaired. So her hope has been restored back again. Her sexual life can be restored back again. So all these things happen when labor is not managed properly by a professional.
Wow. Then this disease is really serious.
It's very, very serious.
It's really serious. So when people have such disease and they come to the hospitals, do we have this normal treatment for them, or it will go further for surgeries and those kind of, what's the treatment conditions for?
Okay, when the person comes into the hospital to a particular condition, normally you need a referral to come there.
Okay.
When the person comes and the person comes with the referral, the person is managed. After that, we do diagnosis. We do an examination to find out.
Okay.
We place the woman on the couch, then we do an examination under the lights to see if indeed she has fistula. So if that is proven that she has fistula, then we go on further for her to do some labs, a series of labs, for us to clear her that she's fit enough to do the surgery. We go through what's a surgical procedure to repair the fistula. So we have to do labs to make sure her blood workups are all right.
Okay.
Then we proceed and take her to a specialist who has an education, has a broad knowledge on the repair of fistula. Not just any obstetrician or gynecologist can repair it, but we have specialists who are trained in urogynecology, and they are the ones who manage these people. So they are taken to see them. Then they book them and they repair them surgically, so that they will have.
Is it expensive? Is it expensive?
Oh, since the health insurance is there, the health insurance takes some off. I know it's covered under the health insurance, but you see, it's kind of a very strange, strange illness. So normally, the government has done something about it. So the health insurance takes it off, at least when they come. Once you have the health insurance, it can be managed.
Okay, so back to our previous question. You said we have types of fistula. Can you please help us know some of the types? Because we cannot say we have this and does it. So let's know the types that we have so that the person can see that this is the type that I have.
Okay. The first one, we have the vesicovaginal fistula.
Okay.
There's this connection between the bladder and the vagina.
Okay.
The person might even have it. It's not really done. Some can even get there, not even through labor. Some can even get through probably a disease or a malignant condition like cancer or something. So there's this vesicovaginal fistula between the bladder. There's connection between the bladder and the vagina.
Okay.
So instead for the urine to collect straight away into the bladder, then it goes to the prostate, then it comes through the ureters. The urine just passes through the vagina straight away. Yeah, seriously. And the second one is the urethrovaginal fistula between the urethra, that is the bladder outlet, and the vagina. You see, when we take the anatomical lining off the vagina, you see that when you look, I have to be a little bit discreet. When you go into the vagina, you see the vaginal hole there. When you look on top of the vagina, there are two holes that are the ureters. Then this urethral opening where we normally, when somebody is going to do a surgery, we put the urethral catheter into it to drain urine out.
Okay.
Because it goes straight away into the bladder to drain the urine out.
Okay.
So because there's this ureterovaginal fistula, there's this connection between the two of them, the bladder outlet and the vagina. So the urine also pops out like that. And the third one is the rectovaginal fistula. That is the most serious one that I was saying before.
Yes.
That's why the time the person realized the people is coming through the vagina, because there's this connection. Normally, when this thing happens, because the vaginal wall wasn't repaired well, there's this gap between, there's this the tissues there, they just die off just like that. They die off and they slough, and it leaves the place empty and it gaps. It fuses together. Because normally, when somebody delivers and we suture the place, if this whole thing called episiotomy. When somebody is coming to deliver and the vaginal outlet is very, very small, we just cut the place. We suture just to make the place look very nice after delivery. So when these things doesn't come naturally and there's a tear, normally there's something called precipitate labor. The person doesn't normally go into labor normally. Baby just pops out like that. So if that thing happens to somebody and the place is not repaired well, that is where you get this the other fistulas that I was talking about. So another one is the vesico-uterine fistula between the bladder and the uterus, and uterovagina, the rectum that I was saying, between the rectum and the vagina. All these things, there are a lot of types, but I have about 5 types. That I've talked about: the vesico-vaginal fistula, uterovaginal, rectovagina, uterovagina, and the vesico-uterine fistula. Sometimes there's in between the bladder and the uterus. You see the uterus, the bladder is lying on top of the uterus. They're very comfortable, in a very nice way. I wish there were images for us to put so that we just show how it happens.
We show some images.
Okay, so when you see all these things and there's this connection, there's all I was talking about, the precipitate labor, it pushes just like that and the baby comes out. You see there's a connection between them and there's a hole that happens and it cuts through. By the time the person is real, anything, even if the person bleeds, you just run away straight away into the vagina and everything, and it will feel very, 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 very uncomfortable. So these are the types of fistulas that we have.
Okay, thank you so much. This fistula topic is getting really interesting because looking at what you are saying, and it is very, very serious. This is very, very serious. So if a person is having this disease or is living with such conditions, we've talked about the treatment. So how is the person, the stigmatization and the psychological aspect of such disease, looking at our communities? If a person is having such kind of disease, let's take in quotes HIV. When it came earlier, everybody was scared. We were running away. So with this fistula, how is the stigmatization? Because as we said earlier, some people will target as a spiritual disease. So how are we going to deal with the stigmatization with such disease?
I'll first talk about the social and the psychological impact on the society. You see, when a woman has this particular condition, one, if she's a wife, she loses her sexual role first, because she can't have an affair with her husband, because you can see somebody leaking urine
the same time
people in, so
without you being aware.
So that's kind of psychological impact on the person. And unfortunately, some divorce their wives.
Indeed, women, we are suffering.
They divorce their wives because most men are not educated about it. They don't know it. Some don't know that when a woman has this condition, it can be repaired. So they think their wives have problems, they just leave them, and it affects the women. And unfortunately, some too lose their children along the way. So you can see a woman losing the baby, she has this condition, she's been divorced. All these bring trauma to the person. The person becomes very stressed out. And since it's kind of, people stigmatize The person can really go. She can go to market. She can go to her church. She can't go anywhere. She always has to be alone. She's scared to even come out to even talk to people about it. But it's high time that we, if you were a relative of that person, just get closer to that person. Let's encourage the person to seek help.
Help, yes, help such a person.
Go to any hospital, all the regional hospitals that we have in Kumasi or in Ghana. The person can get help. It doesn't even take a day or two for them to do the surgery.
Oh,
some few minutes or some hours, they are done with the surgery. The person is back to her normal life. So all these things can be done. You shouldn't stigmatize the people, please. We beg you. The stigma is too much. If you see a friend going to, just go to her. I know there's this order that you don't really want to get close to the person and all that, but please, it takes a while to help somebody. If you go forward and help the person, help solve a problem. We don't go down, that's what we all say all the time. So it's high time that we help people.
Sure.
If you normally there are also these old women who have gone through the living about 10. Yeah, first we were living 10. They take the
40, 50 years.
And all that. And unfortunately, when they age like that, their muscles become weak and they also like experience all these particular problems. Yeah. But if you're a relative, you should just take the person straight away to the hospital. Don't stigma, don't push the person away, don't take the person away from you. Bring the person closer. At least you can just do some first aid by helping her with the pad and everything, just to keep the urine from leaking. There are diapers, adult diapers, so that the person can put on, so that the person will not leak urine around and the person will not smell. Just clean up the person nicely. You just send the person to the hospital. The person can be helped. There are a lot of help available. So if all these are done, I think the stigma will also go down.
Okay. So if there is this NGO who wants to help such people, what are the things that they have to give to such a person for the person to be okay?
The most important thing is the person. Then you should bring the person to the hospital. That is the most important thing. The first thing, because we want a solution to the problem.
Okay.
So bring the person to the hospital, and after that, you bring the person to she's seen by an obstetrician and gynecologist, and they are being managed. Then you can bring some money and get diapers, and the most important thing is money. Because the BI is kind of
sure.
So at least if you get money, you give the money to the person. Because the person, after she's been seen by the doctor, probably frequently the next consultation, you the NGO, you might not even be around. But at least if you give money to the person can use the money to come to the hospital, and that one will help.
Okay. So do we have a tree name for fistula? Hey, then how can we tell our mothers? They cannot even pronounce the name fistula.
Okay, so let me just break it down.
Okay.
Say, oh, fear, that's the one who say, Obi, if I say, Obi, our way, we know what befi. Then we say, oh, we will not sound to me, and who's not our Jones or name Bassa. Oh, not Tiffany, sorry to say, most of that Tiffany, if you not say, again, normal, also in Papa hospital. And he very fistula, but really treating. But Sunny became said, yeah, Obi will fear not so a good nose and a who bone or a cow on a honey idea for the Bra hospital. And if you can say, oh, you so with the say, Biana, me will never answer a name by a big giant. A giant, I said, the same more. Because better not, I don't know. Mama, quite a woman near Mamma S. B says, a count to be so, so be so it will be an answer or why I did so much. If I was saying who they serve any brown,
I can say, on Yam no more Jones on 10.
It's not like that.
Okay. You see, we don't have a tree name for fistula. See, we are back to say, oh, who's the old Jones? So, oh, Nibum, sorry, Babuma. Then you have to rush to the hospital because it's not normal. Thank you so much. People, if we have people living with such conditions, please leave it at the comment section. We will do a follow-up to help such a person, because looking at this situation is so uncalled for. It's so uncomfortable. Please, so if you have people living with such disease, don't hesitate to send the person to the hospital or advise such a person to go to the hospital. And husbands, please, this it's really serious. Don't divorce your wives about such disease because it happened when the woman was going to give birth to your child. So please, as we have been educated on fistula, we have a fair knowledge. If we have such situations, we will rush to the hospital.
Okay, I want to add on. Okay. You see, now at first we're having the FGM, the female genital mutilation.
Okay.
It's also a risk factor for this particular condition.
Wow,
yes.
wow.
You see, people practice this particular condition. They cut the clitoris off, and unfortunately, when the person is going through labor, the clitoris that is God has designed to help in the labor is not there. So unfortunately, by the time the person realizes there's a tear between even the where the clitoris is supposed to be and even the vagina, and it brings about problems.
Wow.
So please, if you know somebody who has had this, she's gone through FGM, the female genital mutilation, she should come to the hospital early, so that when she gets pregnant, she'll be managed well. Probably they might discuss on how she go through her labor. Probably it might be done surgically. There's a cesarean section or something that will be done for her. And one thing I would also want to add on is that everybody should be educated on this particular condition. Everybody in the hospital knows about it, and we know how to manage our clients better. So when you get pregnant, I beg you, go to the hospital. Don't stay at home. People say, oh, at first they were like, oh, when I first things are changing.
Yes.
Things are changing.
Oh, some people can say, I can deliver at home, so I won't go to the hospital.
Who do that? You shouldn't do that. You might not know what will happen in your pregnancy. You might not know what will happen. So when you get pregnant, just go to the hospital. So you are managed by a midwife or an obstetrician gynecologist. If all these are done well, all these diseases will be avoided. If you seek help in the hospital, and don't wait. You're pregnant, immediately you know you're pregnant. You based your menses. Oh, or some it's not watching her. Your best 6 or 7 months along courses. So no, anything can happen along the way. A lot of conditions attached to pregnancy. I don't know. Be another crazy. Not adding up and telling my so please go to the hospital. So that all these things will be avoided. If you are managed well in the hospital, you are managed by a correct and a professional midwife. An obstetrician gynecologist, you wouldn't have any problem. You have all these conditions will be avoided.
Okay. Before we conclude on everything, we'll go out to the street, ask the general public about their take on fistula. Are they aware? Have they heard about such disease? So we'll go out to the street to ask them, take their views on fistula. Okay, I have with me this beautiful young lady who is ready to share her view on fistula. Me patron your first thing.
Patron, if I'm ready to say.
Okay. Na me patron, what are you referring to fistula? What's in the
Me patron Debbie.
Okay, fistula Arabia, Yanyana Wim. Obu onu mo ko a chronic ne late delivery and a masaya neba. Obu onu ma it's a sia. The obehu se wanya fistula ni bi ne nse. Obedwun so agu hu abra wu hu. Anasa obekọ private agu hu abra onye de wu hu. Won hu obi a wo saya bi.
Me patron Debbie.
Na wosusu se yawe eye ntoma yawe ana se eye yawe a eno aba.
Me su se yawe eno aba.
Okay, enti se obi wo saa yawe ni bia e de na susu se nipa no onye.
Ehia so eso hospital.
Okay, ehia so ko hospital na treatment wo honom no ye de ma. Enti so woni mo bi owo bia owo mantam ana se wo fi a bomodin ama nipa ni ntramri ka anya dai enko hospital. Enti wo betimi ahwe dwumadie yi emu nchirechire mu e wo Facebook page and your YouTube channel. Right. Patrick that's be brace out here say me interview.
Patron, Miss Madam.
No, Miss Shrow. I'm Patrick first.
Media queer.
It's the queer. What's your real fistula and kada?
Debbie.
Okay. Eh, ya real be a yana oye. Say obi ko wona akra na che. Anasa akra ne su bebre na nipa na force push ya. E na masa ya re ne den. E ba mu wa yetimi fa ehre akra no. Enti fistula yawe wa say ma obi hu yawe ne dey eban ye na mamonto so bebre ye busan kofo bebre ba obi enu was why dey what yawe ne nka da ba yawe ne dey e wo ho a dey edi enya so wonim nipa yawe no esunsunsan so ne say wo ho no ma na wo dwunso abra wonye dey wonya awe anase wo be call private abra wonye dey wonya awe eno ne ade eda eye ade meye hu se why dey wonya saa yawe ni bi so wahu se obi wo saa yawe bi wo mantam anase wo fie anase wani atwa bibi so saa da
me hu bi saa da
eju su se obi won ma hu se wo saa condition na ususu se eye ntoyare anase yare anu aba
me nyi ni se ntoyale
uti se enu ana aiden aba okay entafutu be na de be ma wo ma o manya saa yare ni
me nya hu bi de nti me hu na de ban se de sitie ba se obi wo honum na wanya bi de a me susu se wo ma doctors me no na omo ma no ho akwankyera obetimi asolve any problem na wanya no
okay yeah that's bebre nti enwa ne sise obi wo saa yare ni bia ne obeya ne se obetura mikatente na wakọ hospital na wakọ akọje ayarehye yeah that's bebre se wonya mbrema ye
amen
net sen
Nyame adumo oba
ne frasen
ye frɛ me oba ya
na mpacho oba ya what fistula yare nka
me pacho da bi
okay yare a yenya no awoye se ebia wakwa awo so na akra ne sun bebre na delivery so ayeden e delay eno enema saa yare ne eden eba ensunsuan so abehu se wanya fistula yare no ne se wote ho ana wadwunso ana se wakọ private agu hu without say ebe signal so ne kwadwunso ana se ko private o ho ana esi saa na yare ne eden etie na wosusu se eye entoma yare ana se yare na na aba
oh me hu ni se yare na aba enye nto yare efi se yare bebrebe wo ho a yenya mfiri nye se obi na ato ama but yare a eka ni pedua ne ho nti me hu ni se yare a wo ho eka
okay na mpacho hu se obi wo saa situation na se wo saa tibie
oh nyame enem no kuro ni me hu bi saa da de mati bi da but mani hu bi saa da
okay e dance bebre nti afuto ben na wo de be maye nuanom a omuwo saa yare ni bi
oh de meka akire o mo ne se ye nipa yare no so eye den a ye be yare nti so obi wo bi a won hwe ne ho den enye yare a ye de ne be ko wo mu ana se bibi saa but ya ana one thing se enuanom na ye ka wo mo ho no so ya o mo mwa omo wo saa yare no na se de be ya o mo ren ho wo mo ho o mo te ho a o mo ren ho wo mo ho na o mo so benya anigye wo o mabrabo mu
dance bebre afuto kakra yeso de be ma ne sese hu se nipa no wo saa tibie ni mu a entantem so di nipa ne be de e be ko hospital ye betimi aso ano yare a ye so ano enya yare a eni aduro ewo aduro etimi so ano nti se nipa no wo saa tibie ni mu a de be ya ne se be di kan first call hospital e di nipa no be ko hospital na a doctors for action e dance bebre
me so me da ase
ishraw let's say
Pacho nyame adomaye
de nyame na pacho din de se
me pacho friend Benedict Santo a
ma pacho ene de ye wo ha aboko yare fistula wate ho asem da
me pacho da bi
okay me pacho yare bi a yenya na wo ye se bia akra ne so ana se delivery no echa na yenya qualified or trained midwife na okase push ya enne masa ade na eden esi etimi famu ehre akra no enti maame no so sunsunso a wo benya no ewo hɔ a wote hɔ a no odwonso ana se wo kɔ toilet without se ebeka no se on kɔ toilet ana se obedwonso wote wɔ nani na no ho so na wadwonso ana se obekɔ toilet eno ne sunsunso titiri wa meye hu se nipa na yedai enya fistula enti nchechemu kakrai ususu se ebetima ye ntoyare ana se yare na na aba
me pacho me nyini se ayentoyale isa me ma wonsia me wo ye ebia no hoye me operation me last one me wo ye ne de ondo ode ne to na ye de e baaye enso nyame ma me wo e fa me ho e fa me ba enti nsia na me wo ye ne de operation bia no e baaye na sa ne wo ka sa wo to a wo dwonso de me hu ye ka panimu na me hu mani fredi de panimu na ho a bonsa na o dwonso no ho etimba sa fe no mo de rubber kra akɔhye ne bearmem eno na meti bisa ba se ya kase we ye ntoyale de a me hu bisa da
ɛne ɛwɔ hɔ paa ba ɛnyɛ ntɔyare sɛ deɛ wɔka no ɛyɛ yare a aba ɛne nipa te yɛ mmaa bebree wɔ hɔnom a ɔmu wɔ saa te bi anim but ɔmu nni boafo ɔmu nim sɛ bi a bebree society nim sɛ bi a ɔmu akɔdi bɔne bi ɛna obi ɛde saa yare na ɛden aba wɔ ɔmo so but ɔmu nim sɛ ɛyɛ awɔ mu akyi ɛyare ɛno no nti afutuo bɛn na wɔde bɛma saa nkɔfo
afutuo kakra a mɛka ne sɛ me makora baako na ɔnyim menti bi dadeɛ ba makora no so ma me hu bi kakra efi sɛ ɔnyim abra ɔnyim yɛ no ɔwo yɛ afi ɛbɛma ne nan ɔtɔgu so nso no ɔnyim yɛ ne deɛ na saa deɛ no eni ne ho ba ɔwo wie yɛ ne na ɔtɔ ne nan ne de egu so nti edidi mu ana ɛkɔ ɛba kɔkora sɛ wɔnam hɔ a ayɛ no yare a ɔtɔgu so na kakra mɛka ne sɛ ɔbaa deɛ nyame yɛ adom na wohyia bɛrima anaa woware na wo ne bɛrima no fɛ furo ɛwɔ sɛ time bia wokɔ hospital ɛduru sɛ yɛhyɛ ɔbosome a wobɛkɔ ne nyinaa kɔpem sɛ wobɛwofi sɛ ebi wɔnom a wankɔ ebi wɔ abɛkɔ no na akora no na ɛmu ayɛ dɛ wabea ɛwɔ wo yam sɛ wotumi kɔ a ɛma yɛtumi twa wo scan ɛma yɛhu sɛ akora ne de yɛ anaasɛ ɔna yie nti me fi sɛ ɔbaa deɛ nyame yɛ wadom na wonya nyinsan a ɛwɔ sɛ time bia wokɔ hospital ma yɛhwɛ wo abere biara kara menim a
bɛtwɛ daase bebree ne wafutuo ɛne wo mmra wo de ma nyame nhyira wo
amen.
We are here outside to ask about the views of the people on Fistula. So many people were not able to come to the screen because they are afraid to come out to say or share their experience. But we are here. We got few people to talk with them about the views on Fistula. You are welcome. As we saw in the streets, most people are not aware of Fistula. They don't even have the slightest idea about this disease. So as we've all heard and we have been educated on Fistula, we are now taking the step to make people aware, do a Fistula campaign to help women living with such disease. Miss Harriet, what are the complications about this disease?
Okay, the complications is that when there might be infections, there might be bladder infections, there might be urinary tract infections, there might be a wound. So
looking at this, it can cause so many problems.
A lot of problems.
So many problems in the system. Wow.
And there's this bladder. After is sometimes even if it's repaired, I can say there's overactive bladder, there's incomplete void. It might be repaired, but I say what's on so I say still I so the
yeah.
It's
the same with the feces. I said
no, the feces the one that's repaired here.
It's normal.
It's fine.
Okay.
But if let's say the person goes to somewhere, because there are hospitals around, the person might know. People have some perception that when person may go G, when person may go hospital, like I say.
Yeah.
The person might even go to a private hospital and somebody might attempt to even restructure or put the thing back together again. But the person would have complications after it. They do and there are complications like that. Yeah. So incomplete void and also overactive bladder. Then also sexual problems. It might be repaired alright, but it might take some time for the person to return back to her normal sexual life. And so I'm here for 5 years.
When you are sexually active, baby, born man. And I am a cheating. Oh, yeah.
So they can't tag that one. It's a topic for some other time. Let's drop that one. So, then this obstruction to kidney drainage, and then this bladder constricture, vaginal narrow. It can be repaired, alright, but the vagina becomes very small or very narrow. Then the person might even have what we call dyspareunia. She will have sex and she would have pain. all these are complications of it. Then psychological trauma, that is the social isolation and the divorce that we were also talking about. The recurrent fistula, that
keep coming.
Yes. Some have softer tissues, and after it's been repaired, it comes back again.
How?
It comes back, you can't even tell. About
this
70 to about
fistula
80%.
is some way.
So,
It has been repaired,
yes.
and it will come back again.
So success rate of uncomplicated about 70 to 80%, and 50 to 60%. Some do come back with the same problem again.
Oh.
So, and some can even come back with the condition. It will be repaired again,
Okay.
I can't ask about you, but the best thing is you should come to the hospital. No matter how often it's being repaired, you should come back.
Okay.
So these are the complications of.
Okay. Okay. What are the prevention factors? How can we prevent these fistulas?
Okay. The most important thing I was talking about, access to skilled delivery.
Okay.
Skilled delivery as in getting a professional midwife to do your delivery for you. See, we have in our private settings, the private hospitals, somebody might think, oh, she's a midwife, but unfortunately she might be a trained on the job person who can't do a skilled delivery. If you don't get a skilled delivery, you will have fistula. Because you might even have a tear, then the palm is so crying. She might not even suture it well, then you have problems. Then after its healing process, then this fistula begins to form. That is why all babies are called bottom tailors. You know how to suture the torso. Hey, what's here? They come there, nice. Yes, so that you can return back to your sexual life again.
Okay.
So you should have access to a skilled delivery.
Okay.
And also easy access to cesarean section. You see, those what I was talking I was saying as first, people get obstructed labor. To be in fact, you can't go through the pelvis. You know, the human body is such that God designed it in a way that the baby the woman will get pregnant. When the labor is due, the baby will pass through the pelvis. That is in the air, friend,
okay.
Or fat. It goes through the vagina.
Okay.
No, what's he saying?
Okay.
See, so if the baby is very big and the baby cannot go through the cervix, I feel they don't make kind of baby na hoka. Baby not sure want to be marble thing, but not sure waka. You understand?
Okay. Before you go on, do you have this special thing that you can use to determine the weight of the baby?
Yes, that's why we have an ultrasound scan.
Okay, if you know the weight of the baby, why don't you do the cesarean? Like,
well, you see, there's every stigma attached to every condition. Hey, we so go operation. So normally, the most important thing that the health workers should also do, or the parents should also, we should educate our women more on the modes of delivery.
Yes.
That cesarean section is not scary. We have delivered. This is my second baby. I did all through cesarean section.
Okay.
And I'm free. I'm BSc. I mean, I did 24 hours. So no messy for me. You see, there's a stigma attached to everything, but if you come to the hospital, we educate you. That's why we do health education every morning when you come to the hospital. Before we start even taking care of the pregnant woman, we start giving you a health education on how the labor even goes about, so that you have a fair idea. So, if I'm doing a vaginal delivery, then the spontaneous vaginal delivery, I'll know how the process will go. So, because cesarean section, that's why I'm the complications, how I to go about how the process will be like. Then also, there's also forceps delivery, and it's called assisted delivery, where the baby is coming, the baby cannot. She's in labor, the baby cannot come out, but we have to use some spoon or some fork to just bring the baby out. That is the forceps. And there's also this vacuum delivery, where there's something like a little machine that we use to attach to the baby's head and we pull the baby out. All these are assisted deliveries. And it's when you have a fair idea of all these things. And it's done in the hospital. If you have this access to all these particular skilled help, you didn't have a problem. And better training of the locally based nurses and the midwife. As I was saying, those traditional birth attendants, we should train them more. Because most professionals can, because it's a huge country, you have a lot of remote areas. That's why they've trained the traditional medicine. So there should be an updated knowledge on how to manage delivery better. So if you see that the person is having prolonged labor, refer the person quickly to a hospital, a health facility that is near to you. And training, the friends say
it can even lead to death.
Who guarantee that you should refer the person quickly to the hospital so that the person will get skilled help. And also there should be transportation is very, very important in healthcare. If you are, the person can go through labor because there's no ambulance or anything. The person cannot get to the hospital early. The person might even die along the way. So now, for our focus antenatal, we add that there should be a number for emergency transportation. Okay. To show your antenatal card, the moment you look through our antenatal card, there's a particular slot for emergency transportation. We tell you that when you come to we tell you that once you get pregnant, those who live around you, if somebody is using a car or a taxi, you should get to know the person. Be free with the person so that people are check no, don't do that.
Don't want my pregnancy, so yes, sir.
Fine, but when it comes to help, also check who, because the last person that you think you're not free with, that is the person who might carry you to the hospital.
Yes.
So we tell you that at least now no 1 year fine, or you see car, just approach the person. Oh, your friend is saying this evening, if I show me Sarah, you see you can't share in beer or car.
Yes.
I send bar or you ever hospital.
Yeah.
Get the person's number. I send it to me on a job. The person will carry you to the hospital. At least you have somebody who would also help you. Yeah. Because it might be that even your husband is not around.
Yes.
The person will also help you is not around. But at least if you have a person, somebody's number, when anything happens to you, the person will transport you to the hospital quickly.
Okay.
That you'll be able to get access to skilled health care. And also there should be infrastructure. We should have a lot of hospitals around. Okay. At least if you have all these things around, it will help.
Okay.
Even if there's a very remote area, we should have a health center there.
Yeah.
At least you should have a midwife who's also attending to the women. If there's anything, the midwife can manage these things, these problems. And the last one is raising the legal age of marriage to prevent child pregnancy. It's very important. Somebody's as low as 10 years. Oh, so you say 13. 10 years are getting pregnant.
10 years?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 years.
10 years, 11 years, 12 years.
How?
Some you see in our world, a lot of we have.
This one I'm surprised. 10 years.
People are 10 years. Some children are 10 years. Some girls are 10 years. They start menstruating early.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. They menstruate. By the time you realize she's in our very remote areas, they let them marry very early, and that's a problem. The structures there. The internal structures are not developed well to carry a baby, even to go through labor. So at least if the government can do something about it, it's not left alone to the community to do, but the government should also do something, probably implement a policy in parliament at least to raise that marriage age. At least you should try to bring that one down. At least older 20 but
yeah, at least 20 is okay.
You have been developed everything, your uterus would have been developed, your tubes and everything would have been developed, so that I'd be able to help. If all these things are done, I think it will help.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming. We've been educated, we've been enlightened about fistula. I believe that if we are living with people with such conditions, we will advise them for them to go to the hospital to seek medical treatment. Miss Harriet, thank you so much. Thank you so much. People, if you have any comments, you have any question, you have anything, leave it under the comment section. We will get you feedback. And we are pleading with NGOs to help people living with such conditions, because we have so many people there at the remote areas. Even in the cities, we have so many people living with fistula, so that we can help them. Thank you so much for making a date with us on the Afia show. We will be here next week, God willing, on the same program, health issue, but with a different topic. Thank you so much for making the time to watch us. I want to acknowledge my the person who costumed me, who gave me this beautiful outfit, Dinah's Boutique. If you want a nice outfit for any program, you can call her on 0243827236, Dinah's Boutique, and you get everything that you want. Thank you so much. Make a date with us next week, this on the same channel, the same time, 6 p.m. Thank you so much. Subscribe to our Facebook page, The Afia Show, and our YouTube channel, The Afia Show with Obafia. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.